The factory must grow. Forward the Factory is a series of videos showing a Factorio save from the start up through constructing a megabase by stepwise scale-up of the sub-factories. It is called Forward because the direction of construction is from the miners, through smelters and assemblers, ending with the launch complex and the research park. This factory is not formally planned. Instead, the various sub-factories are scaled up when more of a product is wanted than is available. Episode 0, Configuration. The factory must grow. I have disabled water, trees, cliffs, and biters. These present puzzles to be solved in a normal playthrough, but when moving to a megabase they are merely a distraction. The starting area retains the small lake it always has, which will be used for initial power, but the factory will transition to using deep water wells for all water needs. Turning off trees makes building smaller power poles impossible, which needlessly complicates the starter base. I will use Creative Mod to provide sufficient wood to build those until I can upgrade. The basic layout starts off with a modified train world, so high richness and high size and low frequency. And because I am aiming for a megabase in the long run, I have pushed size and richness to the maximum so that I can avoid the loop of most megabases where you're spending all of your time placing new mining areas. Frequency is low. This reduces a number of things. It changes the... There's better explanations of this elsewhere, but it means that while the patches are going to be farther apart, I think it also makes them more regular. Actually, let's see what happens. If I take this from 33% up to 300%, okay, it just makes it more or less frequent. So in theory, I could run all of these all the way up to the top, and we would end up with this totally chaotic scheme here where we have everything available everywhere. This might make a fun thing to do for some base somewhere, but I do want some necessary movement. I do want this to be a train base, so there we go. For the record, I am going to note that I see everything I need for the builder base up on the upper right here. So to the northeast, I have plenty of copper and iron and coal and stone and oil and even uranium. Over the long run, I have found I do not like using nuclear power because the UPS impact of the fluid calculations slows things down. So this will be a solar base. So the uranium isn't that important. Enemies are turned off. There are no biters. As mentioned, they're just a distraction. Research queue availability is something important to check on new saves, because if you don't fix this, you can only research one thing at a time, and every time it finishes a research, you have to explicitly go in and pick the next one. Whereas with it on, you can queue up several researches. For example, you might have something you want, but 2 researches you need to do to enable it. So you queue them all, and with this turned on, you just go. So with that said, we can now head on into the game itself. Let's get a save here. Let all the add-ons enable themselves. Notice that Handy Hands has configured itself and creative mode is now enabled and Informatron is active. The complete list of add-ons is rather extensive, and if I went into that, that would take a very long time to go through. But we can check out the settings. So during startup, I configured a number of things. Most of these are simply defaults. Let's just go down the list really quick. Automatic Train Painter. I like it. I use it. So at startup, there's certain things that are locked down for the save, and you have to restart you have to reload to get these changed. So you don't change these live during a play. So there's changes to creative mod that I could make, but I'm not. Enhanced map colors and the FARL module and so on. These are all very standard and unmodified. There are changes that apply to the entire map. I am auto-deconstructing miners when they have nothing left, and their output chests and drills and so on. I have told Automatic Train Painter to paint the wagons and the fluids. I will be using LTN, so we will be repurposing trains. So a train may carry iron ore one time and copper ore another time. So I've told Train Painter to unpaint any trains that are empty. Bottleneck can be configured for all sorts of things. I have changed none of this. So anybody using Bottleneck will look at what I am showing on the screen, and their intuition will be correct. I am doing bulk rail loader. I have not enabled plates. I'm only using bulk rail loader for ore at this time. I may turn on plates later. Creative mod is running now. We are not turning on hidden items in the chests because frankly the only thing I want to use creative mod for will be provision for initial wood, and possibly later on I may make use of creative mod to test what I have. We have even distribution going, and I have not modified its behavior. FARL, blueprinting something with a wire is free, so I am going to tell FARL to make wires free. Loader Redux, I will actually be using mini loader, not loader Redux. So if I turned on Loader Redux's ability to load into cargo wagons, that would cause UPS. I will need to consider if using mini loaders to load cargo wagons also has a UPS effect. This may impact how we do our train stations, and it may require re-engineering train stations later to move away from mini loaders. Bear that in mind. LTN is enabled. I am going to set the message level to errors and warnings, because notifications will tell us every time it schedules a train. That is pretty cool for the first couple of trains. When you have 100 trains, it floods your screen. There is no help text for GPS tags, so I'm leaving it on. All the rest of these I'm leaving at their default, and we will modify those later when we have to, if we have to. So mini loader can move stacks. I'm not sure how that works, given that they're loading and unloading onto belts. Unlimited stack sizes to be used. Possibly interesting. We may mess with that if we have UPS problems. So picker dollies, I could set this to allow me to dolly things around irrespective of collision boxes. If I do that, I risk leaving something in a place where it is colliding with something else. Let's do that. Why not? Per player configuration. In a multiplayer configuration, I could, in fact, allow these things to be set differently. Mostly I have left these unset. In fact, I don't think I've touched them yet. Creative mod, we have tight control over that. I have enabled it without cheats, and I will be flicking cheats on and off as necessary to get my wood, and that's it. It is possible later in the game that I will turn on things like, automatically delete everything I've marked for, for my trash area. So the even distribution settings are moved to the inventory screen. That's good. Factory planner, I'm not changing, but these are correct. It does use a matrix solver, and I prefer the matrix solver no, let's leave the matrix solver off. I need to turn on the matrix solver if the factory I'm planning makes use of advanced petroleum processing, because there's no other way to get all the feedback loops involved there. Handy hands, I'm going to turn off the sound, and I'm going to enable crafting of recipes with multiple products. Wait a minute. No, I'm not currently using any of those. Let's leave that off. So this is an important flag to have in this state. This says that if I put a logistic request for something and I have logistics turned on, then Handy Hands will attempt to satisfy that request. This is extremely useful, especially before we have logistics robots. And as always, autocraft things on the quick bar. You can, in fact, swap these out. This works the moment you have a way of setting your logistics request. So I believe you have to do the research, but we'll see. Anyway, quick bar is the way I normally do it. Show errors and warnings as Factorio alerts is really good. Or eraser, can erase everything. Notice that here they have configuration items for Factorio 2. I may do that in a future build. And that's all of the mod settings. Interface is just normal. Well, normal for me. Other settings are normal. Well, normal for me. And there we have it. Now let's establish this is our save. Notice I'm saving over a previous run. I did lose some videos, so this is a restart. So there we go. And that's the configuration. I'm going to now start the time-lapsed stuff, and we will see how it goes.